Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Good afternoon, brothers and sisters in the Dhamma. We shall start lesson 6, Dr. Ng Yuen Yen, Ānāpānasati.
Okay.
Today we shall go straight into the lesson.
Right. Okay. Today we are going to have lesson 6. And the lesson 6 is about the 6 sense bases. So here today we want to look into the Sutta, Majjhima Nikaya 10 or Digha Nikaya 20. This would act 22, and this would actually cover the Mahāsatipatthāna on the mind and the mind objects, so that you are clearer on the third and the fourth tetrad. Now, the mind is called citta, right? And in this sutta, it says of the mind states. So these mind states, there are 16 of them. And what are they? Now, it was a mind state here. Mind states, mind states is a lustful mind state or a not lustful mind state. Hatred, non-hatred, deluded, non-deluded, constricted, like very stressed, and distracted externally, elevated as in the jhanas, or not elevated, surpassed as in the formless, it goes to the basis of the infinite space or consciousness or nothingness or neither perception nor non-perception. But when it becomes unsurpassed, that means the person has gone into cessation of perception and feeling, and it cannot be surpassed, it's unsurpassed. A concentrated mind or a not concentrated mind, a liberated mind or not liberated mind. This is to tell you, this citta here is about mind states. Mind states. And the mind states is like a pool of water. And the pool of water is disturbed by an object like a pebble. So the mind states is colored by or affected by the object that you throw into it. So here we want to know what actually color the mind states. What color the mind states in the sutta? It says about the mind objects. The mind objects are the 5 hindrances, the 5 aggregates of clinging, the 6 sense bases, the 7 factors of enlightenment, and the 4 noble truths. So these are the mind objects. So these mind objects will affect the mind citta as in the mind state. So you must be very clear the mind state and then the mind object. I would like to clarify on the sense base. So the sense base, we go into the 12 dependent origination. Ignorance, volitional formation, consciousness goes to the mind body, to the 6 sense bases, to the contact, give you feeling, craving, clinging. Now these 6 sense bases, these are 6 sense bases internal and 6 sense objects external, and you have the corresponding sense consciousness. So the contact comprises of 3 things: the sense object, the sound or the sight or whatever, the smell or taste or touch or the mind object, and corresponding it has the consciousness pulling the dyad together. The consciousness pull these 2 dyad together, the eye with the sight, the ear with the sound, the nose with the smell, the tongue with the taste, the body with the touch. and the mind base with the mind object. So you have to be very clear that the contact, it comprises of three things. The consciousness has to pull the two together, the object as well as the base together. Okay? And then when there is a feeling, it will be pleasant or unpleasant or neutral. So now I would like to tell you that this mind base is quite different from the mind. The mind base is the platform. Like now we are in the human base. We are in this human base. This is a base. Okay? For the others, I think it's easy to understand. For the mind base, I would like to just have an example, like a multi-purpose hall, or even this hall. And a lot of events happen in the hall. So a multi-purpose hall in a HDB will have funeral, will have weddings, etc. So similarly, in the mind base, there will be mind states like love, or all these 16 kinds of mind states affected because of a mind object thrown in. So we also must differentiate the mind base from the mind. Okay? So you must know that the mind base is not the mind consciousness, is not the mind object. So this has to be very clear, just like the I is not the sight and not the I consciousness. The mind base is different. So this part also there must need to have an understanding. So I will try to guide you all to see these different parts, the mind base, the citta, the consciousness, and the object, so that you will be clear in what you are seeing. So here I will want to, for this lesson, I would like you to learn about consciousness, about the sense bases, the sense objects, the contact. And its nature is anicca, impermanent, fading, cessation, release. This is the fourth tetrad. And all these fourth tetrad, all the characteristics here can be seen in the body, the feelings, the mind, and the mind objects. All this can be seen. If it cannot be seen, the Buddha would not say so. Okay, so we will guide you to see this, okay, these four components too. Okay, so the emphasis on this part of it, I'd like you to understand. There is the mind states, the citta, having 16 kinds of mind states, because they are affected by mind objects. And these mind objects, so we say that the mind states are mind states, and you must be very clear about mind states, and then you must be very clear about mind bases. The mind bases are not the mind states. The mind states are on the, working on the bases. Now I will tell you about mind bases. The mind bases, now we have this human mind base. Then there are elevated mind bases. These are elevated mind bases, surpassed mind bases. So this elevated mind basis is with regard to jhana 1, 2, 3, 4. And then the base of infinite space, infinite consciousness, infinite nothingness, and infinite neither perception nor non-perception. Notice this word here, base, 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 base. So the base is where the activities are being carried out. So you must know that the mind base is not the mind object and is not the mind consciousness. So this is clear. Then we will go to the mind objects as said in the sutta. The 5 hindrances, the 5 aggregates of clinging, the 6 sense bases, the 7 factors of enlightenment, and the 4 noble truths. Now the 5 hindrances, if there's a lust, the mind object of lust is thrown into the water, and then it is like a dye in the water, like ink into the water. It's all blue, you can't see. So this is like if you have a lustful mind object, then it will color it and cause the mind state to be in a lustful state. And if there is hatred, okay, this hatred, the chitta is in hatred mind state, then it is because of the hindrance. The hindrance, the mind object of hatred. There is an object of hatred. Example, like people say Chinese virus. So this is an object of hate. So, then it is this mind object thrown into the mind. It becomes, the mind state becomes boiling. So the mind state becomes boiling. Then what is the mind object of sloth and torpor? So this sloth and torpor as a mind object thrown into the mind, then the mind state becomes very heavy, like you are laden with algae and weeds. Similarly, if the mind object is restlessness and worry, then the mind becomes like wind blown. The mind state is like wind blown. And if the mind object is doubt, then the mind state is murky. So it depends on you. If you are very sharp, then you can see the mind object. If the mind object before it becomes very, sort of the state becomes very heavy. So you either learn to see the mind state and see the mind object. So the Buddha says that when you have an unwholesome thought, then you have to quickly abandon it. Why do you need to abandon it? Otherwise, the mind state becomes such. So you have to be very clear about mind object and mind state. So the 5 aggregates of clinging, similarly. And then we also have these 5 aggregates of clinging. Upon contact, there will be 5 aggregates of clinging, because as we have said, favorite food, etc. Then we want you to experience the 6 sense bases and the 6 sense objects. These are the mind objects. So you can see 5 hindrances, 5 aggregates of clinging, the 6 sense base, and then for these are the unwholesome one. So you counter it with the wholesome ones. So 7 factors of enlightenment and 4 noble truths. These 6 sense bases, we just have these 6 sense bases, having this mind and body, we are endowed with 6 sense bases only. We are nothing but just these 6 sense bases internally. And we communicate with externally the 6 sense objects. And the consciousness pull them together. When after contact, if there's a feeling of pleasure, the feeling of pleasure will bring about craving. And the feeling of unpleasant brings about vibhava, tanha. And this brings about kama tanha and bhava tanha. So this feeling, craving, clinging, becoming, and then a whole lot of suffering. So I want to show you in the Tetrads also about volitional formations. so that you can see cessation and release. Now I want to just illustrate. I want to illustrate let's say the mental formation. Let's say I have an intention to throw a ball. Right, this ball then bounce, reach a surface, stop. But because still have that energy, and you will see that there is further release of energy. So you can see if I bounce 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Then you roll about and come to a complete stop. So this cessation, you don't have to sort of like it's a big word. No, it's just a big full stop. So we want to ask you to appreciate the mind objects, especially when the breathing is at its pause. So we want you to appreciate that, to experience the release during the pause. So now we want to say that the mind, like it's an empty screen. It can be 2-dimensional, like a TV screen. Now this TV screen, you just divide it into 4. Right upper, right lower, left upper, left lower. So now I put this as if you just see, remember me holding the ball, right? And then now I'll ask you to have another view. And now I would like you to see this object, this tennis ball here, right upper. Okay, right upper. Right. So this is today the lesson. I will bring you through to understand the mind states and the mind objects. And I hope to illustrate to you the mind objects, how they affect the mind states. So when we meditate, we are actually looking at the 6 sense bases. So when we breathe in and out, it's the body base. The breathing in and out touching the air, touching the upper surface of the upper lip. And then we look into ear. I want you to learn about consciousness. So we will start the meditation now. Right. So the object of today's focus will be the 6 sense bases. We will look at the first sense base, which is the body, and the object, the body object is the breath. And then we just note that is the consciousness looking on the breath. I want you to appreciate, if you can, that every step in the Ānāpānasati, any instruction, any volition that you do for each of the steps affects the mind state. So now I would like you to appreciate mind state, consciousness. Consciousness is like an attention to the object, attention to the contact. So now you just sit comfortably with mindfulness in front of you. You breathe in and you breathe out. So the object here is just breathing, and breathing long. Breathing in long, you know. Breathing out long, you know. What is your mind state like? Do you notice whether it opens up? So do it again. Notice whatever you do, breathe in long. And breathe out long. The object is breathing, touching the air, upper surface. The mind opens up. So you notice that this is the first state of calmness or tranquility. And just by breathing in long and breathing out long, you're able to experience for yourself the mind state. Now you breathe in short and breathe out short. Notice what the mind state is. Notice the attention that you put on the breath. Notice the attention that you put on the breathing. That attention is consciousness. So you notice your mind state when you do short breathing in and short breathing out. So now that you appreciate this step and its effect on the mind state, then you go to the third step. And in the third step, you just appreciate or experience the breathing. Just watch the breathing in and out, and just experience it. Experience the mind state when you're doing that too. Is the breath long or the breath short? In or out? The most important part of this step 3 is to know the beginning and the end of breathing in and breathing out. So I would like you to just breathe in and notice its end. When you notice its end, the pause becomes more obvious. And then you experience the pause. So in this step 3, I would like you to see the changing nature of your breathing. In and out. In and out as impermanent. See the fading as it ends. See it stopping and it's pausing. And in the pausing, the releasing, just like the ball sort of continue to bounce after it stops, that type of energy release. And then we have the end of the pause before the next cycle. So we continue to experience breathing in this manner. So when you're looking on, you are conscious. So your consciousness is attending to the process. And the object is the breathing. And what is the mind state like? Is it calmer? So in this calm state, you watch the process and experience the entire breathing process. In order to savor, you have to stop and look. You cannot rush. You have to stop and experience. You cannot be doing something. You have to stop and then experience. Just as you want to look at the sunrise or sunset, you have to stop and then appreciate it fully. So now we appreciate the breathing in. With its beginning and its end. Similarly, for the breathing out, you experience the breathing out process and the pause after that. Notice your mind state. Now we go to the fourth step. So in the fourth step, notice when you say calm, experience that calmness. So breathing, at the pause you say calm. And you experience the calm. breathing out. At a pause, calm, you experience the calm. So the mind objects, breathing. Notice that the mind state now has no lust, no hate, no delusion. Calm. So this is the contact with breathing in doing the first 4 steps. So we will try to see what is the contact with hearing. So you hear the sound in the room using your ear bases. Don't go out the ears. You receive the sound at your ears. At both your ears. You direct your attention to your ears. To both your ears. So this attention to the ear basis is the ear consciousness. So this attention to the ear. Listen the sound. See its changing nature. Pitch, frequency, etc. Receive at the ear basis. I would like you to now turn your attention to receive the sound from the right ear only, if possible, in the sense that your attention goes to the right ear. So there's consciousness, there's a ear base, and there's the sound. Notice the nature of the contact. See for yourself whether it's impermanent. It's just a touch and go, touch and go. Notice the end of the attention, the end of consciousness. If you can see the arising, see its end. Just like you see breathing, you see the arising of the ear consciousness and where it ends at the ear base. You may appreciate better if you do breathing and then at the pause appreciate it better. You may be able to see the dissipation of the energy at the point of contact. But it suffices just to know these three components. The attention on the ear base, the sound received at the ear base, the ear base. Notice this is what just contacting. Are there feelings? This is just contacting. Sense, sensing. Arise and disappear. You can turn your attention to your left ear, because if you pay attention too much on one ear, the ear may ache. So you turn your attention to the other ear. So this is an appreciation of contact. You can hear the sound itself also. Sound as the ear object. Notice it changing nature. So this is what it means when the Buddha says to Bahiya, hear, hearing. We will not do the nose and the tongue. You can do it yourself at home. Nose when you are in the toilet, doing your business, you can smell. You will also know the nature. Or the tongue when you are eating. Now we go to the mind object. So remember, I held the ball. Now I would like you to picture the bigger ball. Where did the bigger ball appear in your mind now? In which sphere? Right upper, right lower, left upper, left lower. Or in the center. Where it arises, where it goes. Breathing in, breathing out. Not only the ball, if you can remember me, the picture of me standing there, you can, if the ball cannot be seen, then you picture the object of myself holding the ball. You see how the object arises and disappear. From which quadrant to which quadrant? Whatever you're doing, remember to put your mindfulness also on your breathing in and out. So when you do breathing in, then see the object. Breathing out, see the object. So there is an innocuous object. May not feature. You may try an object, a mind object, that is a sad object or a fearful object. Breathe in, breathe out. Bring to mind the object. Which quadrant does it arise? And where did it go? If it appears too huge, put it back again and see it from afar. It will go together with feelings and perceptions and mental formations. Your consciousness just look at it. You are in a safe environment, so it's okay. These objects of fear and sadness are just in the minds that you have to process them. You notice that the mind object may be very hard if it affects the mind state. So you must look very clearly, sharply at the mind object before it spills over into the mind state. So breathe in and breathe out. Always anchor yourself at breathing in and out. Notice the feelings. Breathing in, feelings. Now we go to the second tetrad. Breathing in. What are your feelings like? Breathing out, feelings. Know your attention at the object. You can see your feelings arise and cease. You can see as like a wind swept from one to the other end. You just see it there. Either it passes from upper to lower, right to left, or left to right. Let it just pass. Like winds. Or if you can see it as a mind object, it arises and ceases there. Breathe in, breathe out. Know where your attention is. You can scan your mind screen like a TV screen. Do you feel any tension in the right upper or right lower? The left upper or left lower? If there is tension, just continue to breathe in and out. Don't pay too much attention over at the area of tension. Just continue to breathe in and out. And you will see it dissipate. Especially you can appreciate them at the pauses. Breathe in and breathe out. You take some time to dissipate, especially if the clinging has been a long time. So you see these mental formations pass in front or behind you, breathing in and breathing out. In front or behind the breathing. You will slowly settle down when you're just very comfortable breathing in and out. So you can do the step 8, calm down the mental formations. Breathe in, calm. Breathe out, calm. You notice the sensations of the mental formations will subside, fade, cease, release. Of the clinging. Then when it's calmer, you can notice that the mind appears. So breathing in, experience that mind in its luminosity. Breathing out, experience that mind in its luminosity. Whatever brightness, just breathe in, experience it. And breathe out, experience it. And it may be a light dimmer which is changing luminosity. So you are aware of your attention on that mind. That attention is your mind consciousness. What are you looking at the mind? And that's the mind object also. And the mind object also has this manifestation of changing, fading. You keep looking at that mind. Breathing in, experience that mind. Breathing out, experience that mind. Then we go to step 10. When you experience the mind is naturally joyful. If you just keep experiencing the mind, it's joyful. Otherwise, the Buddha says, breathe in, gladden the mind. So you introduce a volition, be glad. Breathe in, be glad. Notice the mental volition of gladdening, the sensation, and notice the mind. See the difference between the sensation, mental formations of gladdening, look at its upper level, and then look at the mind above it. Notice the gladdened mind is a concentrated mind. You don't have to do much effort. You can just breathe in and out and look at that gladdened mind. The looking or the attention on the gladdened mind is concentration. Which has the quality of serenity and non-dispersal. Breathing in, concentrate. Breathing out, concentrate. The nature of a concentrated mind is a liberated mind. It leads to it naturally. There's no need to exert, just keep concentrating. Just keep looking at that mind. It will liberate, depending on its power of concentration. Otherwise, you can tell the mind, breathing in, liberate the mind. Breathing out, liberate the mind. You know for yourself whether your mind is elevated or not, surpassed or not, concentrated or not, liberated or not. Be very mindful where you're putting your mind, your consciousness. Always look at what is your consciousness contacting. Because where your consciousness or your attention goes tells you of your tendency, your inclinations. So with a liberated mind, you can re-look at the breathing. Can you see the quality of your breathing and its nature of your breathing as impermanent, fading, cessation, release. You can also look at feelings. Sensations, mental formations. So again, you can experience the mental formations, step 3 of the second tetrad. Breathe in. Experience any mental formations, any sensations. Sometimes the mental formations can spread from the area of the head down to the chest, Just watch it detachedly, see how it moves. Breathe in, breathe out. Just watch how it moves, from where to where. No need to associate with any organs. Mindful of your breathing also. Notice your attention. On the sensations. Sensations can be a flow or an area or a point. So you see them. So you can see as a 2-dimension or 3-dimension. Always steady on the breathing in and breathing out. So these are mental formations of clinging, if there are any. So it's impermanent, fading, ceasing, releasing. Experience the mind again. So we shall end the session. So in summary, the object of this session is to be able to see attention, that is consciousness, on the object, on the contact. And for the 6 sense bases, to see the objects arise, disappear. See the consciousness arise, disappear. So you can appreciate contacting, where the contact would also arise and disappear, so that it doesn't have the feeling, craving, clinging. So you take your time to practice this 6 sense bases. You also appreciate the 5 aggregates of clinging. And see them as part of the 12 DO, the clinging, sometimes felt in the hands and the shoulders or the hips, craving in the chest area, intending in the head area, So you must check your clinging. Clinging not only where you felt it, but you must look for the craving and the volitional formations sites also. So we shall end this session today.
Thank you, Dr. Ng. We have a few questions. In which step of Ānāpānasati can we experience vitakka and vichara?
So vitakka means plight. Vichara means sustain. So if you can apply your attention on any contact and sustain that contact, then there's vitakka, vichara. If you can sustain your contact, your breathing, so vitakka and vichara is often associated with the jhanas, but it doesn't really sort of only in jhanas then you have vitakka and vichara. Even when you are doing mindfulness, there is vitakka and vichara in motion. So you are just watching the process. So all processes would have to require you to have a certain amount of vitakka and vichara. That means you are applying your attention on the breathing and you sustain your attention on the breathing. So you see in the vitakka vichara, one-pointedness, where they practice samatha, is only one point, fixed at one point, not moving. So they just sustain in that sense. But for the mindfulness in breathing, we ask you to sustain, to watch the entire process of breathing. That is mindfulness. Don't have to go into too much about the Pali semantics. It's just to know for yourself that you are paying attention, that you're contacting your breathing, that your mind is focused, not distracted, that is on this object, and this object, the breathing object, is moving. Right? So you must know whether the object is a moving object or is a stationary object.
Thank you. Someone who's new to Buddhist teachings said he's confused about the term consciousness.
The what? Consciousness?
The term consciousness,
Oh.
does it mean the soul? And I saw on the whiteboard the 12 dependent origination sequence. Consciousness is before mind, body. And then there is another consciousness in the sixth sense basis. So
right.
I am a bit confused. Thank you.
Okay. Not to be confused. So to be confused require consciousness. Right, huh? And to be confused means you are having doubts. And that you don't know what direction to go. So confusion is the first step to investigation. So you have to be confused first. Then you investigate. So now we shall say consciousness. No need to talk so much about it. To be conscious means you are awake. Okay, to be unconscious in the comatose state. A person is conscious or a person is not conscious, and the doctor will assess by Glasgow Coma Scale. So that one is medical. So you know when a person is drowsy from medical conditions, or sometimes it's purposely induced, you know, to sort of let the mind or let the brain settle. So the person is not conscious of the sixth sense basis at all. So now consciousness is when you do not know. When you are conscious, you know where you are standing, what you are doing, right? You are conscious. You are conscious of what you are seeing. You are conscious of what you are hearing, what you are smelling, what you are touching, what you are tasting, what you are thinking. Right? Yeah? If you're thinking of your dinner, you know what you are thinking. So you are conscious. When you have your bedtime, when you sleep, you are not conscious of this or this. You are in another world, the sleeping world. So you are not conscious of this. Okay? You're only conscious of your dreams. So this is conscious of your six sense bases. You have to be conscious of all this because you have to survive the situation. We are endowed with these six sense bases to contact the six sense objects so that we know whether there is danger or non-danger, no danger. Whether this person is friend or foe. Right? Huh? So a foe will take an object to harm you, but nowadays a wolf may be in a sheep clothing, so you wouldn't know. So this is, you are conscious of the object in your environment through your six sense bases. So this is how it works for your six sense bases. Now when we say in the 12 DO, it tells us the process of how our consciousness works. So we do not know what we do not know. That is ignorance. But we know our intentions. We have our intentions to get up in the morning, go to the toilet. So there is an intention. So we say that we know volitional formations. So putting aside the sort of like ignorant things, we just want to talk simply about volitional formation. Let's say you wake up in the morning and you lie in your bed. You must first have the intention of wanting to go to the toilet. So your consciousness will tell your mind and body, hey, sit up, turn to your side, put your legs down, and then get up. So the mind has to tell, the consciousness has to tell it. Consciousness will have to descend to the body, the mind to the body to say, turn to the side, put your legs down, sit up, get up, walk to the toilet, okay? And then your six sense bases will meet into contact. So your body, your eyes and your body will focus on the toilet bowl where you will sit and would not miss, right? Huh? Then you sit down and you do your business, right? Then you wipe, okay? So all this require your consciousness to go into your mind body, to direct your mind body to contact whatever it needs to do. So this is it. This is the usual function of your human body, using your human mind base, exerting on your human five senses. So this is functional. Well, if let's say you have a very unpleasant feeling when you cannot pass motion, so it's very unpleasant. So you are constipated. Then the feeling will be unpleasant, right? And then there will be I want to get out of this state. Then you say, I need to go and drink some warm water, right? Then you do something. But if this is a chronic constipation, then it will have a vibhava. That means this is unpleasant. So there is a lot of stress around that. So there is vibhava, clinging. Oh, then you say, I need to go to see somebody, either a TCM or see a doctor or see a nurse to help me get rid of this unpleasant feeling. So there is a becoming. This becoming requires another volition. So the birth is a sense that you go and get an appointment, the birth of an appointment, to see the TCM or the doctor or the nurse who can help solve your problem, or the pharmacist at the, wherever. So we say this is consciousness. Contact require consciousness. That this is consciousness, the general consciousness. And it also tells about, this consciousness tells about if a person have ignorance and craving. Volitional formation means intention. You intend to do this, you intend to do this, do that. Is that you have some craving. When you have craving and ignorance, the consciousness will descend into a mind body. This is like after death, after death. So you say you only have consciousness. So this consciousness, if it still have ignorance and desire, this consciousness will descend into a mind and body. Then it takes its base. The engaged set up a base, grow, and it will acquire the 6 sense bases and the 5 aggregates. And then it stays for 9 months if it's a human baby. Then it comes out and feel the air and then cry, etc. So this is a whole process of dependent origination. So it's a process of arising and ceasing, arising and ceasing, arising and ceasing. So here we say there is no soul. It is just depending on conditions that arise and cease. Because this context, the context, when we move in an environment, we don't know which person has a COVID. We don't know. We are moving in an environment. We just have to safeguard ourselves, guard our 5 senses, our mind. So the Buddha says, guard your 6 sense bases. So this consciousness, we now carry a body, and we now see the processing. And we say that you can make all your plans for the future, but you have a COVID. So now, no traveling. Preferably no traveling. Because we don't know what we are in contact with. Any person who is asymptomatic also can be a potential carrier. So we just said everybody has. So we have to mask up to guard ourselves. So this process is a process of how we as a being get conditioned. So we say that the being is a process of depending, conditioning. Because we have this, we have that. We have this. If there is intention, then the consciousness will drive you. If we don't have intentions, if we have no more craving, then there is no arising. But as long as you have craving, then there will be arising of consciousness. But we also see the small units of the arising and ceasing of consciousness when we do contacting. So I'm not too certain whether we have captured that, but you have to experience for yourself that consciousness arises and ceases. Just like breathing in ceases, then breathing out starts. So it doesn't mean that I die, I cease, the body ceases, then the body die, then I can see the cessation of breathing. Not so. So similarly, I can see cessation of consciousness even when I am alive. So it's the same principle. When you see the breathing, you see the breathing ending, the pause. So this is called end. So this is cessation, and then the release of whatever residue there is. And similarly in consciousness, we have say, when you see using the ear object, because the ear is a very easiest of all object to see. And so they always say, 观世音菩萨. Because 观世音 is to be very mindful of sound. And sound is changing all the time. You can see it very clearly. Your ear base, you can see it very clearly. Your ear consciousness, you can see it very clearly. So you can see contact come and go, contact come and go. So this is what the Buddha meant, sense sensing. So if you just sense sensing, did you have feeling? You will know for yourself if you practice and you appreciate the contacting. Because it's just like twinkle, twinkle, little star. The three come together and then fall apart. So it doesn't, you can see arising and ceasing of all this. So it will enhance your understanding. In the Heart Sutra or the Honey Ball Sutra, when they say there is no ear base, no ear consciousness, no sound. So when there is none of this, then there will be no suffering. So it's because of this and we cling, then there's suffering. But you see, it says you just contacting only, and you see it ending, and you sustain this seeing, and you see it for yourself. Like I tell you, and the Buddha tells us in the teachings, is a concept, but you have to see so that you can perceive. And you have to perceive anicca, impermanent, fading, cessation, release. You have to see this release comes with maturity. So you can see the Buddha Sutta, in the suttas, he always say, maturing in release. So at least you must see this cessation. But every step we take, every step stop, and then start, stop, start, stop. So this is stop, and when you stop, you have to appreciate the stop. So if like, even standing, okay, put one leg out and one leg in. You can see the release also. For everything you do, there is these processes. It's up to you to see it for yourself.
Thank you, Dr. Ng. There's one question on saying, I'm very puzzled about mind-based and mind consciousness. How are they different? I understand mind-based is not the mind, but nose-based is the nose.
Okay. Because I would like to say this mind-based. Now, this basis of the mind, okay, I would like you to say that it may be very difficult to see mind-based now because you are seeing mind states, the mind, these states, these types of states. So most times, if you can see, if you can recognize that you are lustful, that's good, that you are hatred, that you are anger, that's good, that you are confused, is good, that you have constricted and very stressed is good, that you are distracted, there are so many things to do is okay, that your mind is not elevated because you have experienced elevated mind before. When you see, you experience that your mind is not concentrated or not liberated. So this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So there's these 8 states of mind you need to see. Okay? So after you are very familiar with all this, and then you train yourself to develop no lust, no hate, no delusion, not its elevated state surpassed, no concentrated. If you can develop that, then these are elevated bases. These are elevated bases, surpassed bases. So in the human mind, if you are familiar, you can just look at that mind base that you have now. You just see that part where it's intangible, that mind base. It's even more stable than your breathing in and out. So you know that you will be unshakable. So this requires training because most times our mind is clouded by all these states. And then when the mind base is there all the time, just like the ear base is there all the time, only you don't recognize it. I'm just telling you that mind base is not mind states. And I'm trying to tell you that this mind base, the Buddha says mind bases, there are innumerable. And that if you think about the number of mind bases, you will go crazy. He says just like you go crazy if you think about karma or the power of the Buddha. So the mind base of a human mind base, you may have difficulty at this stage to know it. But subsequently, after your training, and an occasion when you are not so, not so caught up in all this, then you can see your mind base. And I'm just saying that this mind base can be elevated to jhana 1, 2, 3, 4, base of infinite space. These are bases. So when the mind base, when the mind enters into that base, they can experience it just like you go to a mountain, you climb Mount Kinabalu, there are camp bases. When you climb mountains, there are camp bases, and you explore that base. So you can stay in a particular base and explore it thoroughly. You know where you are. These are the mind bases. But here we are talking about this human mind base. And this human mind base, you have it, but you have to recognize it. If you can recognize these states, it's good for the training. Then you have to recognize the others, the other more refined states, the concentrated mind, no lust, no hate, no delusion. After you recognize all these states, the mind is quiet enough to see the mind base. Then you will appreciate the mind base for what it is. So you must know the mind base is not the mind objects. The mind objects, the 5 hindrances, the 5 aggregates of clinging, the 7 factors of enlightenment, the 4 noble truths, the 6 sense bases, these are mind objects. This is not mind base. Okay? So then there is a mind consciousness. So when we say the mind, looking at mind objects is the mind consciousness. So at this point in time, don't confuse yourself. So I just said attention. What is the attention? The attention is you see the arising and the touching of the end of the consciousness arising and ending at this point on contact. If you can recognize consciousness, later on you can define, hey, this is what consciousness, this is mind consciousness or whatever. But you must be able to look at consciousness because you don't want to be tricked when you die, right? What's this happening? Because at the end of it, when you leave our 5 bases, we have to be quite, when we leave all these things, we have to be quite sure of what we are looking at. It's arising and it's ceasing.
Thank you, Dr. Ng. What is the difference between experiencing the mind and experiencing the mind objects? Can you give some examples, please?
Experiencing the mind. So, experiencing mind objects. So we say that sloth and torpor. Okay, sloth and torpor is a mind object. Now, sloth and torpor you can see as a mind object. And then the problem is sometimes if you see the sloth and torpor, you see just that point before it, so it's just like the algae, just there, and then you just sort of nip it in the bud before it becomes the mind state and you totally lost. That means you are sort of like being very sleepy already. So that's a mind object. Or even doubt. If your doubt is clear at that point, this object, like an object, before this object turns the whole, let's say this is the mind. If this object is here, if you don't see this end, then it will just go round and the whole mind is stuck in this arising of this object. This object may it be lust. Now let's say lust. So what do you lust for? Anything you lust for, let's say of the 5 sense sites. Oh, now people cannot go on vacation. Let's say nightclubs. You know, there's this, they have this one thing, this last, to go to the nightclub. So Korean, right, Korea, they have this where they get another wave, right? So they want to go. Their mind. So ignorance drive them. I intend to go. I bring my consciousness, bring my body, go to the, ask my six sense bases, go to the nightclub to fulfill my mind, my craving, you know. And that this, the whole mind state, because all you think about is the object, last, nightclub, that nightclub open already, nightclub, you see, the whole thing, if you don't do, you feel very agitated, because you must have it, you must release all these things, you know, because it has this clinging, there is so much, you keep going round and round in circles over it, that you need to release, so you drive yourself to contact that thing, so you feel, oh, I'm here, and then you are released. So this is what addicts do. So addicts, so they come out from their incarceration in the prison, and then after that, they may not see the danger, and so when they don't see the danger, and there's this craving is so strong, then their conscious, the volitional formations, so their intention in their intention to enjoy again, clinging, you know, to taste it again, you know, I can taste it. So this will drive them to go and get it, just like you go and drive. So the whole mind is filled. So they have to direct their mind to think of a plan to execute to get the drugs. They will contact the person, hush, hush, etc. And then they will drive because they need to satisfy their craving and clinging. Otherwise, it just gets bottled up. Get so bottled up, the drive, like it's that drive you keep repeating, you know, like the ball, you keep bouncing. They must release it. So they drive themselves to go and get it for their pleasure. So this is addiction to drugs, alcohol, gambling. This is the nature, this is the depending on these conditions of ignorance and craving that they drive them. So when we see this, we feel very sorry for these people. But the Buddha also sees us and feels very sorry for us, because we are samsara addicts. We are going round and round in circles, attached to pleasure too. So we come back again and again, not knowing of the nature that is suffering, and its nature is this. So we are samsara addicts. There may be drug addicts, but we are samsara addicts as long as we are here. So this drive, okay, this mind, this consciousness drive. So this, I hope, answer his questions.
Thank you, Dr. Ng. There's one last question, but it's 4 questions in one. I have 4 questions in relation to Parinibbana Sutta, corresponding to Buddha's various jhanic stages before he entered into Parinibbana. Buddha entered into jhana 1, 2, 3, 4, then leaving jhana 4, he entered into 5 arupa jhana of infinite space, then 6 arupa jhana of infinite consciousness, then 7 arupa jhana of nothingness, then 8 the arupa jhana of neither perception nor non-perception, and leaving that he attained the cessation of feeling and perception, that is 9th. Then he went back down from cessation of feeling and perception to 8, 7, 6, 5, And from 5 he went to 4, 3, 2, 1 and went back to 2, 3, 4 and exit from jhana 4 to parinibbana. Could you please explain why Buddha has to go through such an elaborate yo-yo way of exiting into parinibbana? Second question, did all Buddhas and Arahants also have to take this yo-yo style to enter into parinibbana? Question 3, the jhanic stages as recommended by Buddha in the Nikayas are jhana 1 to 4. If it is only 4 jhanas, why Buddha has to make such an effort to enter into the various arupa jhanas before entering into parinibbana? Why did he not just stop at jhana 4 and went into parinibbana? Last question, is the arupa jhana of nothingness equivalent to the Heart Sutra of emptiness or sunyata stage? Thank you.
Okay, so the Buddha was said for Mahaparinibbana, he was said to go from these states, so 8, then go to 9. Cessation of perception and feeling. So he came down and then go there and then from 4 out. Okay, so this is from 1 to 9 to 1 to 4 and out. Now you ask me, why is this yo-yo? Now I think we are not in a position to ask why. And the thing here is this, is it important or not for your development? So now, for the Buddhas, the powers of the Buddha is to you maybe yo-yo, but to the Buddha is nothing. It's nothing. It's just like a blink of an eye, right? So to you it's difficult, but to him it's nothing. It's like a snap of a finger. It's just like a blink of an eye. Okay, so it's like 9 blinks. Okay, so you don't have, so it is a very easy way of doing for the Buddha. For the cessation of perception and feeling, this attainment of cessation of feeling and perception, why did he not live at this cessation of perception and feeling? Because here there is still heat and vital formations. So it doesn't use, if you notice that there are some sages along the Silk Route, and along the Silk Route you can see this called living sages that are in this state for 75 years. I think there's a YouTube that says that they are able to enter, but they don't know how to exit. Right? The Buddha knows how to enter, the achievement of attainment and exiting and emergence. So he can enter and he can come out. And when he come out, because all this requires volition, all right? So here he goes out of 4. 4th is the equanimity. No pain, no pleasure, equanimity. So he chooses the jhana 4. So this is not of the rupa, okay, where this is not arupa, because these are still, all these bases are impermanent, and then here he exit in jhana 4. So this was said to be seen by Venerable Anuruddha. Anuruddha was able to see when he reaches to stage of cessation of perception and feeling, there is no breath, right? There's no breathing, and then there is no mental volition. So there is cessation of perception and feeling, but the heat and the vital formation is still there. But he looks as good as like dead because there is no breathing. So the monks there, Venerable Ananda asked, said, has the Buddha gone? And Venerable Anuruddha says that he has not. He has not gone. And so says that when he went there and then comes out. So this stage, jhana 4, is the where he let go of this volition. Okay, of the life principle. So he let go of volition, a life principle, and he goes. So he determines, this is where I let go of my life principle, his choice. So now we just know that this is a stage where in the rupa, because he has a rupa, so he lets go at this stage. So now, if you ask me about further Buddhas, I don't know. I don't know about the further Buddhas, and I was not, I also read, this is reading only, okay? So, if you, but the Buddha tells in a sutta called Volition, or the man from Atta something, no, MN1, but whatever it is, he shows him the 11 doors to the deathless. The 11 doors to the deathless means that any of these doors can go to the deathless states. He says that you can let go in the jhana 1, you just let go of your volition. Just let go of your volition. In jhana 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? And then in the Brahma Viharas, the 4 Brahma Viharas, 4 plus 4 are 8. And then he says, let go in this 3 bases volition. Let go of volition in 1 to 4 to 7. So 4 of jhanas, rupa jhanas, and 3 of the arupa jhanas. And then of this, and the 4 Brahma Viharas. So there are 11 doors to the deathless state. And the deathless state requires you to let go of volition only. Let go of craving. Because they have no more ignorance, they are just, they have this volition to do the functional of, living. So when they let go of this, then they enter into the deathless state. Now, so there's one sutta I need to check, then I'll let you all know which is the sutta name. But there are 2 suttas talking about this. That there's 11 doors to the deathless state. Right. Now, then you want to talk about base of infinite nothingness. The base of infinite nothingness is not the sunnata that the Heart Sutra talk about. Because the Heart Sutra says of nibbana, not nothingness. Okay? So this base of infinite nothingness is a base. You know what is this called? Base. Okay? A base means a realm. If you go into that realm, you'll be there for aeons. So it's not the realm that the Heart Sutra talk about. And neither is this realm the place, what is that? There's also the Honey Ball Sutta. So these 2 are, the Heart Sutra and the Honey Ball Sutta, they are the same. They're talking about the same. Now this base of infinite nothingness is from very concentrated state. If the person, all this is one-pointedness. So this is one-pointedness and it's of the rupa. So rupa means body, it has the 5 senses. Okay? When it goes into the arupa means no body. So no body goes into space. If you penetrate further with the concentration, then it goes to consciousness. Then if you penetrate further, then it goes to nothingness. And you penetrate further, then you go to neither perception nor non-perception. So this nothingness is still got something. Okay? This something is volition. And then is not to be hoodwinked that it is nothing. It feels nothing, but it is not nothing. You still have something because there's still this base. And you need to investigate further so that the concentration penetrate to the neither perception nor non-perception. And this, you need to penetrate further to the cessation of perception and feeling. He says all this can be attained by perception. So this is the attainment of perceptions. But this is the maturity of the mind. That the person has maturity, the attainment of cessation. This is the attainment of cessation. Attainment of cessation, and all these are attainment of perception. Attainment of perception and attainment of cessation. So this has to mature before one develops into this. It's not any one, not by just sheer concentration. It cannot be by sheer concentration. It has to be one whose mind is mature, who has seen cessation enough that it goes into all these states, and then it goes. And then when it reached here, it's called anuttara, unsurpassed, anuttara. Okay, anuttara. So, what else did you ask? Did I answer all the questions? Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Ng. We shall close the session, today's session, with by sharing our merits. Let's invite the devas and all sentient beings to share our quiet merits.
May I also say that I'd like to dedicate these merits to Bhante Dhammasiri.
Yes.
Bhante Dhammasiri is an aged monk, was an aged monk, passed away yesterday at 12:30 p.m. He was wonderful and kind and generous, simple, non-greedy, upright, completely upright, and that he is a truthful, dutiful monk who firm on his Dhamma and his discipline. So today we will dedicate merits to him. So first we will share the merits with the devas, and then with the relatives and friends. So we shall start our dedication.
Etta vata cha
Amhehi sampatam punya sampatam sabbe deva anumodantu sabba sampati siddhya etta vata cha amhehi sampatam punya sampatam sabbe bhuta anumodantu sabba sampati siddhya etta vata cha amhehi sampatam punya sampatam sabbe satta anumodantu sabba sampati siddhya.
Now we dedicate our merits to Bhante, Venerable Dhammasiri and all our departed relatives and friends.
Idam me nyatidam hotu sukhita hontu nyatayo. Idam me nyatidam hotu sukhita hontu nyatayo. Idam me nyatidam hotu sukhita hontu nyatayo.
Let us close by paying homage to the Triple Gem.
Arahant Samma Sambuddho Bhagava Buddham Bhagavantam Avivademi. Swakato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammam Namasami. Supatipano Bhagavato Sāvaka Sangho Sangham Namami.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Ng, and thank you, brothers and sisters in the Dhamma, for joining us today. Tomorrow,